It, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there is no echo, right?
No echo, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I introduce you, ma'am?
1 minute. Can you see my video?
Video, yeah, ma'am.
1 minute. Let me see my screen.
It's visible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Okay.
can I start, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, one and all. I'm privileged to be in the August gathering of second day of 5-day FDP on challenges in adapting machine learning towards 5G, 6G communications. I welcome you all once again to the FDP. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce today's speaker, Dr. V. Venkatamani Garu, who is going to talk to us about concurrent illumination and communication, Li-Fi technology. Join me in welcoming Madam.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. B.V. Manigaru received her BE ME degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from the College of Engineering, Andhra University in 1992 and 2003. She received her PhD in Electrical Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi in 2009. She joined NIT Warangal in April 2008 as Assistant Professor in the Department of ECE, where she has been an associate professor since March 2018. Her areas of interest include wireless communication, signal processing for communication. She has numerous publications in credit in national and international conferences and journals. She is a fellow of IETE and senior member of IEEE. Welcome you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So very good morning to one and all. It's my great pleasure to have this presentation with you on for giving me this great opportunity. I'm very thankful to VNR Vignan Jyoti Institute of Technology and head of the department and all others who are involved in this workshop. And as we are mentioning that this workshop is about machine learning algorithms for which are useful for communication, right? But my part is something little different from the machine learning algorithm, because in real-time communication we are not sure how we can the latency of the machine learning algorithms which resolve into communication systems. This is the main the problem with machine learning algorithms. Offline we can do it better, but when it comes to the online, we are not sure how much time it takes. So nobody has it also tested it till now using the machine learning algorithm, how I am decoding my signals and all. So, but in later part, once you detect the signal, if you want to improve the signal spectral, improve the efficiency, energy efficiency, or any other aspect of the signal communication, can be machine learning algorithms are very much useful. So as I am working in physical layer technology, I prefer to be in the domain of the real-time communication. Okay, so today I am going to talk about the visible light communication, which is coming up in the 6G communication or maybe beyond 5G communication. Definitely it will be a part of the communication system in 6G. Why it is so important nowadays? Because of its spectral efficiency, because we have a huge bandwidth of the signal. So you know what is the bandwidth, right? Let me give me some time. Okay, so this one I'll talk about some introduction, literature survey, motivation, and the general OFDM format for communication, peak to average power ratio, and we have used some transform techniques for communicating the signal and how it is different, and some aspects of synchronization in multi-carrier and multiple access systems compatible with visible light communication. Okay, so this visible light communication is actually why it has come up into the market. It has tossed the coin by Edinburgh University, and they started visible light communication is one of the technology which may be embedded into the 6G beyond 5G communications, because everyone is having a demand of the spectrum. So there is a huge crunch of spectrum, the scarcity is there, and we have to search for alternate technology. So one of such alternate technology is optical wireless communication. It has been emerged out. So it has been emerged out maybe 5 years back. Still research is going on. There are a lot of open problems are available in visible light communication. And people are also working more and more towards the spectrum analysis, how we can increase the visibility of LEDs, how we can manufacture the LEDs, the materials, and many more things. Okay, so this actually optical wireless communication, when I am saying, this is using optoelectronic devices, that is LEDs, light emitting diode, and a photodiode. So this offers actually a very huge bandwidth, because the visible light range is from 380 nanometers to 780 nanometers. Okay, that means definitely it will become a complementary RF communication. But how effectively we can use it, because a huge bandwidth is available, still can we use the entire bandwidth for our communication? Because the communication devices are very simple. Instead of an antenna at the transmitting end and an antenna at the receiving end, these two antennas are replaced by a light, that is LED at the transmitting end, and a photodiode at the receiving end. We know that LED emits light, and we know that photodiode collects the light. So this is this form of communication is happening wirelessly. That's the concept of a visible light communication. So now look at the system model for visible light communication. Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm not getting any response from the participants. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? So, please, in between, try to respond by voice, because I'm not sure what is happening in between. When I'm playing my video, I cannot see the instantaneous response. The instantaneous response from the screen because after playing this first slide, it is showing still. After playing the second slide, still it is showing the first slide in my another laptop. So maybe it may be some problem to me also. Okay. Now, so the
Ma'am, you
visualized
are
communication
audible and the
system looks
screen
like
we
in
are
this
seeing
fashion.
is.
We have an information source, encoder, modulator. We all know about this, right? Information source, encoder, modulator. And in the receiver section, we have a demodulator, decoder, and data destination. These are all common in communication systems. But after that, what we are going to do it for visible light communication? We are replacing your antennas by LEDs and replacing the receiving antenna by photodiode. So this you can see in the red mark, the LED is placed at this point and a photodiode is placed. So in between, there is a driver circuitry is placed. So this driver circuitry controls the LED current, current which is emitting to a section. And now it is coming to the channel, an optical connector, optical fiber, optical filter is used, and amplifier. So this is a typical visible light communication system. Now, okay, when you are transmitting your signal through LED, because wirelessly we want to transmit whatever the changes of amplitude or phase or angle of your information is changing, accordingly the light has to illuminate. Okay. Now, but we know very well that LED emits light or it conducts only when it is forward biased. That is one of the main issue in my communication system, right? So then how to overcome this? How to overcome this kind of a system? Because my communication is having a positive modulations, negative modulations, it goes ups and downs, right? At any cost of time, my system has to modulate all sort of concerns. But so if you see this diagram, today my pen is not working, otherwise I would have instantaneously wrote on the board. So I have used a positive amplitude here, if you look at, right? And LED is connected and is connected to a voltage, uh, alternating source, and is also biased with some voltage in proportion. Now what happens? Only in the positive direction, because I know very well that in the positive direction diode conducts, but in the negative direction diode does not conduct. Then how do you communicate through your diode? Is it possible to communicate through your diode? No, it's not possible to communicate your diode. Then what best we can do? Either you shift your both positive and negative cycles of your amplitude levels to a totally positive side. That means give a clip, give some clamping. We learned about the clamping circuits. If you add some DC bias to this, the whole of the signal is always in the positive level. So it can communicate. So that means you have to translate your amplitudes into some transforms. So there are many modulation techniques available for visible light communication, like a single carrier, a multi-carrier, and other multi-carrier communication systems. In single carrier modulation techniques, if you look at, we can see that on-off keying, pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation, cap modulation, and in the multi-carrier techniques, OFDM and its other variants. In OFDM, we can see that there are DCO OFDM, SCO OFDM, PAM Dementi, flip OFDM. These are all different variations of modulation techniques, and other multi-carrier techniques, HCM, WPDM, real transforms, DHT, DCT, and DST, and color shift keying. These are some of the variants of your different kinds of modulation techniques. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to deal with all the modulation techniques, but to some extent I can explain what is this, how a modulation is formatted, right? So we know that a because anyway we are concentrating on not a single carrier, we are concentrating on multi-carrier, because we have a huge bandwidth is available for visible light communication, as well as in the 5G communication or in the present 4G communication. We are already using OFDM as your modulation technique, right? So to go beyond to that, we want to add on top of it, we want to add another technology, that is VLC. So definitely we will also go with along with the OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. So this orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, OFDM, is actually a high data rate multicarrier modulation technique. So this we know that this high data rate multicarrier modulation technique is working on the basic principle of DFT and IDFT, discrete Fourier transform and inverse discrete Fourier transform. So we know what is discrete Fourier transform and we know what is inverse discrete Fourier transform. So if you see this expression, that is y equal to some k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of k e power j 2 pi and k by capital N, right? This is my x of k is the input modulation. X of k are my input bits. So these input bits are either +1 or -1, right? So these bits are multiplied with different carriers. That is e power j 2 pi n k by capital N. How long? Till 0 to n minus 1. This is my IDFT format. Okay. So that means if you look at your IFFT, suppose I have 10 subcarriers, then in each carrier we are placing one x of k, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6. We are placing one IFFT block, right? So if you see this one now, but it's fine. My OFDM is giving me the complex signal at the output, but at the end point, my diode is a transmission device which has to transmit these complex modulations. But we already seen that the diode cannot transmit a complex signal. We have to bring down this complex signal to a normal real signal. Okay. And also we know that diode works only between cut-in to cut-off voltage. So beyond that, it cannot work. That means whatever the modulation formats you are incrementing, so the energy generated out of its modulation format, they must lie between your cut-in and cut-off voltage only. If they are going beyond that, either it cannot cut, either it cannot transmit, or it will go to the saturation points. So for this purpose, we are imposing one Hermitian symmetry criteria to the input of the inverse fast Fourier transform. So this HS is the Hermitian symmetry. We are imposing to this OFDM, IFFT. Okay. So that is one of the technique where we are translating the signal into a real signal. And we all know that visible light communication is very much useful in many of the areas for bringing up your cities to smart cities, because there is a large number of poles, that is electrical poles, are erected, and these electric poles are established with a light, that is that light is LED. So why can't we use these LEDs as for communication as well as illumination, both? That means we want to use these LEDs for current, communication and illumination. So that means we are saving a lot of energy, right? We are saving, we need not depend on your Wi-Fi networks. Even while traveling on the move, while traveling on the roads, anyone can access a Wi-Fi. This is the objective of visible light communication. And there are many other applications, device-to-device communication, vehicle-to-vehicle communication, and in your lighting systems, even your signaling schemes, wherever we can use this visible light communication system. So in this visible light communication system, I am talking about Hermitian symmetry, right? Where we are imposing this Hermitian symmetry, we are imposing this Hermitian symmetry before IFFT, so that the IFFT output will become a real signal. So if you look at, there is a red one, Hermitian symmetry, we are imposing before IFFT. This makes the signal into a real signal. And not only that, the real is not important here. The real as well as the positive. That means a bipolar signal to a unipolar signal is also important. So to make this unipolar signal, we'll add some additional DC bias to the signal. So that is the green one. Some additional DC bias is used. Then the normal scheme, the scheme, if you look at this one, it is OFDM scheme. Only the extra parts what we are including for visible light communication is an Hermitian symmetry and bipolar and unipolar device. And there is a LED at the other end. And we have a photodiode at the receiving end. Okay. And the rest all same, the same OFDM concept. There is no change in OFDM concept. So like this, we can establish a visible light transceiver. So what is this Hermitian symmetry actually? If you look at the Hermitian symmetry, so if suppose if I am transmitting over n subcarriers, one OFDM symbols, right? So out of these n OFDM symbols, the first symbol and the middle symbol will make it as 0. And the first n by 2 symbols will give as is to the IFFT block. And the next n by 2 symbols are, we are making them as a mirror symmetry and making them into complex conjugates. So if you do like this, the output will become always real out of your IFFT block. So this you can give it as an exercise to the students. If you arrange your formats in this Hermitian symmetry format, the output signals are becoming real signals. They are becoming real valued signals. So if you look at the 0 position is 0 and the middle position is 0 and the others, the first n by 2 minus 1 symbols are complex conjugated and they are placed in the disorder. Okay. So now this goes to a real symmetry. So this is the Hermitian symmetry imposed IFFT block. So if you look at simple opening of how an Hermitian symmetry is working, as I said, the 0th position and n by 2 position we are making it as 0. Hermitian symmetry condition means x of n minus k is equivalent to x conjugate of k. This is the Hermitian symmetry format. So that means for k equal to n by 2, 1 to n by 2 minus 1, we are making this Hermitian symmetry. So first 0 and x of n by 2, the rest are Hermitian symmetries. N by 2 minus 1 conjugates we are placing. So if just we'll try to see how, if you open this equation, what will happen. So x of k power, this is my standard format, 2 pi j n k by n. Now in this format, we'll keep x of 0 as 0, x of n by 2 as 0, and 0 to n by 2 minus 1 as same, and rest are complex conjugates. So if you try and open this equation, 0 and the next ones are same. The other ones are n by 2 is x of n by 2 e power j, because this here also we are making it as 0. And the next ones are x of n by 2 plus 1 to n minus k, we are making them as complex conjugates. So we will impose one by one. So this goes away, 0 goes away, and n by 2 goes away, and only this format remains as it is, k equal to 1 to n by 2, and the other format is becoming complex conjugate. Okay. So that means only these two components remain, these two components goes away, and we'll make complex conjugates. So if you make the complex conjugate, that means n minus some k dash, will fix, because the second one we are making it to complex conjugates. This one we are making it to complex conjugate. So if you introduce that complex conjugate n minus k with another variable n minus k dash, and if you open this equation, if you look at, this becomes xk, x conjugate of k, e power plus and e power minus. Okay. So e power plus and e power minus. If you open this one, e power cos plus j sine, this one is cos minus j sine. And if you open this equation, this becomes remain signals are only cos and sines. That means one real signal and one imaginary signal, x of k sine. So this is cos and sine format. There is no complexity. There is no complex conjugates available after imposing this kind of a Hermitian symmetry. Okay, so there are many other variants of symmetries available. Those are which exploits the real transform techniques are Hartley transform, discrete Hartley transform, discrete cosine transform, discrete sine transform, and also exploiting the alternative multi-carrier modulation techniques like hardware coded modulation, wavelet packet modulation, wavelet packet division multiplexing. Like that, there are many variants are available. Okay. So, but we are not going through each and every one. Only one example is taken into consideration. So DHT also may be inverse discrete Hartley transform techniques. We can use it, and the opening of the discrete Hartley transform technique is having only cos and sine formats. So this becomes, I'm not opening each and every one. And inverse discrete transform, that is DCT based, discrete cosine transform is also can be used. What is this discrete cosine transform? CK is multiplied by CK, XK cos by 2n plus 1 into k by 2n. This is a discrete cosine transform. So we impose on xk for n number of subcarriers, multiply with ck and also multiply with a cos. So instead of IFFT, we can go for DCT. So if you open this DCT equation, what is ck and all, if you define, this becomes a real transform. Okay, so like this, I can go for different kinds of modulation techniques. And also coming to the, because the channel estimation is also one of the important content in wireless communication, right? We need to estimate the channel. The similar channel estimation techniques like least squares, minimum mean square error, estimation still we can continue to use in visible light communication, but a little variations because the signal model is changed now. Earlier the signal model is different. There is a complex signal and it is propagated to a high frequency band and we are communicating. Whereas in this one, it looks like a carrierless because after IFFT, the output signal is passed through an LED. Okay. So the similar kind of channel estimations also still we can use it for visible light communications. Maybe the pilot estimations analysis. So I'm not going through deep into these channel estimations because it's a general theory. I just skipping this channel estimation, but still you can. Most of the channel estimation techniques for visible light communication are already published and completed in their work. So there is no much scope for this channel estimation in for the visible light communication. So I'm going to the next topic, which is very relevant to the new research. That is, so if you look at a visible light channel model, suppose if you are placing an LED at the top of the room and a receiver at the down, right? So from the top of the room, because it is generating the light, so this hits a wall and comes back to the receiver. And there is a line of sight communication from transmitter to the receiver if there is no object lies between the transmitter and receiver. Okay, that means a line of sight component and a non-line of sight component is present, and there are many multipath components are also present in visible light communication as well, right? So we model this visible light communication channel model as HN. There are L number of non-line of sight components. So this is being given by a channel model equation by the researchers in 12 and 88. They have mentioned it as with angles and the distances. Okay. With a psi angle. So in the frequency domain, give me some time. So if you see these this way modeling is given by an equation, that is the channel model, is slightly different from the wireless communication channel model. We have to consider the angles, line of sight, non-line of sight, if there is a wall, there is no wall, and field of view of the your vision, and the amplification factor of your photodiode, everything comes into consideration. So finally, the frequency domain signal, that means the received signal looks like by k is my received signal, because it is in a convolution in time domain and it is in frequency domain direct multiplication. So xk, hk, wk, the same equation. Xk is the transmitted signal, hk is the channel, wk is additive white Gaussian noise. So we can use the least square estimate. That means we can estimate y minus xh norm square over the h, and we differentiate that equation with respect to h, and we can estimate what is the channel from that one. Okay. So these least square estimates are simply x inverse of y. We just make with the known symbols, we inverse it. Then we can find out what is HNS. This is and also we can find out the minimum mean square channel estimation. That means from there h minus h hat. If you do the expectation square of the expectation, we can figure it out what is h of MMSE estimate. These are all mathematical models, right? So I'm not going to derive each and every expression over here, because in the limited time we cannot complete everything. So this is my typical channel estimation techniques. And also I can do the interpolation based channel estimations. I can in between I can find out the points and I can interpolate what is in between them, and we can do some spline interpolation to find out the channel estimates. Okay, so there is a large many research papers are available in the channel estimations. So now what is going on? So so another aspect in visible light communication is PAPR, peak to average power ratio in multi-carrier systems. We know what is PAPR. So because we are communicating over several subbands, if we are using N point FFT, means in the sense we are using N subcarriers. So in some of the subcarriers, maybe the signal is increasing because of your let's take, you are transmitting at one instant of time, all values are positive. Then what will happen? On all the subcarriers, the signal energy is more, right? So that means when they added up, the amount is increasing to a high value. When we are transmitting the signal over the LED, right, or over the system, not only in visible light communication, also in your RF systems, the energy of that signal is going to increase to a large extent. We don't know whether this increased in amount is accommodated in your power amplifier or not. Okay? If it cannot be accommodated in your power amplifier, that leads to non-linear distortion of your signals. This is a basic problem in the multi-carrier communication systems. The similar problem is also available in visible light communications. So if you see here, xk e power j 2 pi kn by n, this is the IDFT, right? So this IDFT signal looks in this fashion, in the red color fashion. So if we add up all the signals, this may go beyond some range of your forward voltage, some range of your saturation voltage. Then your amplifier cannot function. So these are the major problem in OFDM. So there are some techniques available like partial transmit sequences, clipping and filtering, and spreading. These are some techniques. What explicitly we are going to do it, because the energy should not be increased to a high value. It has to be in the minimum level. It has to be in the minimum level in the sense we need to control them. Suppose if it is the output is some way of averaged out, so that it can bring down to the normal value, or some kind of a clipping. If you do some kind of a clipping, it will come down to the normal value, or we can spread it over a large area so that you can bring it to the normal value. Many other techniques, not only these three techniques, partial transmit technique and clipping and filtering and spreading. There are many other techniques are also available. Okay. So So DCT based spreading, just we look into the one kind of a OFDM for one kind of a PAPR reduction. Later we can continue further for the later topics. So what we are doing, so suppose if you are doing a spreading, a DCT spreading, P-point DCT if you are using, and then we are using discrete cosine transform instead of a DFT. We can communicate through your LED and we can receive the signal through your photodiode. Okay, this is one kind of a PAPR reduction technique we are seeing. So in this DCT spreading, what we are doing, we take endpoint DCT. And it's a, endpoint DST and IDCT for data sequence. Suppose there are n symbols are there, then xk is spreaded with a ck, and ck is for k0 we kept as half, and for rest of the case we keep ck is equivalent to 1, and we multiply with a cos signal, and your x of m is your signals, right? So this is the format. So this is the format of your IDFT format. So DCT format. So what is x of k and what is x of m? We are mentioning over here. So the difference between x of k and x of m, for x of k, x of m is given. For x of m, x of k is given. Okay. So similar to your normal DFT and IDFT equations, but it is a cosine transform, not a other transform. It is a cosine transform. So this cosine transform as cos 2m plus 1 into k by 2n. That is the difference in this cosine transform. So xm is a time domain FOFDM sample, xk is frequency domain sample. So let this P-point DCT we can open in this fashion. Okay. So then the received signals we are spreading. So we are spreading. How we are spreading? Because n we are making it to 2p. So in between we are introducing zeros. In between we are introducing zeros. Let's take there are 10 volts of 1111 volt. So now if you take average, so 10 volts average by 10 means 1 volt. Suppose if I am introducing zeros in between, I am making into 20 points, right? So the total sum is, put your cursor on the screen. Okay. Sir, actually, please. Actually, I have opened this one is non-PDF mail format. Otherwise, I would have shown you the one because my iPad does not has a PDF version. So I have opened through mail, so I cannot put a cursor on it. Anyway, I am pronouncing out the Y. So we are spreading it. Now y equal to 0, x0, 0, x1 like that. In between you are placing some zeros. So 10 points we are making it to 20 points. So that is a spreading. 10 points we are making into the 20 point. If you take the average of this signal, the average of this signal is the sum will be 10, but we are making it to 20. So 10 by 20, that means half. Earlier, if you are transmitting as it is, 10 by 10, it is 1. So we are, by spreading, we are reducing the amount of the energy. Okay. So after doing some mathematical analysis, we can come down to the formats, and there is another technique called, it is called PTS, partial transmit sequence. So this partial transmit sequence, what it does among the DCT spreading, so we do IDCT, we do IDCT. So we take the input signals. So from each IDCT, we'll take the argument from minimum of the signal, which one is giving, with some weights we multiply, and we take out that signal. That is a partial partial transmit sequence, PTS sequence. So this partial transmit sequence, Partial transmit sequence reduction in FOF time using this technique. So what is difference in partial transmit sequence and partial transmit sequence and your normal spreading? The complexity is increased in PTS. Why? Because if there are L number of IDCT blocks we are using. Whereas in the previous case, yes, we are taking care for the spreading of your signal. But here we are taking L number of IDCTs. So that means in each block we are taking out the output and we are multiplying with some factor. If that is giving the minimum, yes, I'll transmit that one. Or the second one is giving the minimum, either I'll multiply with P1, P2, PL like that. Which one is giving minimum? We need to transmit that information. Not only that, we have to transmit the side information. That means which factor we are multiplying the signal. This is the overhead on your partial transmit sequence. So this is the typical modeling of your partial transmit sequence. So DCT based PAPR analysis, and also the multiple access schemes. There are many multiple. I'm not going through the multiple access schemes. I want to show the new result of this research because this is the old one. Okay, so we have seen the general scenario of what is a WFD, what is a visible light communication, what kind of a transform we are using, how to reduce the PAPR in visible light communication, what kind of different transforms are used, and what are the different kinds of multiple access schemes we can go ahead with visible light communication. These are all the basics of visible light communication. Okay, now what the present trend is going on in this visible light communication. So this is slightly different from the present version. So earlier I have shown you that OFDM multi-carrier modulation technique, right? So slightly we have implemented a GFDM as well. So just give me a minute. నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాం ఒక 10 minutes మళ్ళీ ఫోన్ చేస్తాను. Okay, so different modulation formats we have seen, and some drawbacks of the OFDM systems are identified. So what are those drawbacks of the OFDM system? So the transmission of a single symbol for subcarrier, we have to restrict ourselves to a rectangular filter. We are transmitting n subcarriers. So these n subcarriers are to be limited in the frequency band. If they are going beyond the frequency band, then there is some leakage into the other domains, the frequency domain. This is spectral leakage in another problem. So the another one is we have seen peak to average power ratio. Okay, that is another problem. And the another problem with OFDM, if you use the visible light communication, is the LED's dynamic range. This dynamic range, is it suitable for our transmission of my OFDM symbols? These are the problems, right? So we have to address these problems such that we can bring our LED modulation scheme or our LED transmission into the 5G communication or into the 6G communication. So these are some of the problems we have identified, and so how to overcome some of these problems. So one identification is, instead of an OFDM, we can use a GFDM with a more complex system. But people don't prefer to go for a complex system, because the simple system, whatever existing in the 4G or 5G, we want to continue with the same scenario, same devices to a higher spectral efficiency, right? We have proposed a GFDM, generalized frequency division multiplexing. How it is different from OFDM is, in OFDM, for the entire time slot, we are sending on the frequency bands, different frequency bands. Whereas in GFDM, it is divided into both time domain as well as in the frequency domain. In time domain, in time slots, in the frequency slots, we are sending subsymbols on each time slot. That is a difference from OFDM to the GFDM. Okay, so that means we are spending M subsymbols and M sample into the N subcarriers, or to the N subcarriers, I'm sending M subsymbols. So we are repeatedly sending in this GFDM format. So in this GFDM format, we have achieved some good result. But the problem with this GFDM is the more complex system. If you look at the complexity of your GFDM system, so we take a QAM mapper, we take subsymbol segregation into one area, that is subsymbol 0 to subsymbol 1, like that. M subsymbols, we make M subsymbols. We keep Hermitian symmetry. Then M into K is actually equal to your N. So these M subsymbols are given to your K point IFFT, and like that there are M subsymbols are given to K point IFFTs. So that means we are repeating M times. We are repeating M times. We are repeating M times. Then we multiplied with a filter, P0 of N, P1 of N, Pm of N. Then we are adding a cyclic prefix, some combined, adding a cyclic prefix, and we introduce a pre-distortion circuitry. Then later we use unipolar environment. Again, it is given to LED model. So this is more complex one, but we are gaining some advantages out of it. So these M subsymbols are repeatedly given onto M times K point FFT. We are given into this format. The similar reverse process is done for your receiver section. Okay. So what is the advantage we are gaining? I'm not going to the deep into the mathematics. The same LED model, the same complex notations are used, and IFFT model, the spore spectral density. I'm obtaining a spore spectral density out of this model. So these spore spectral densities, piecewise polynomial model, if you look at, we are changing the models. So what is so root raised cosine filters are used at the end using the Dirichlet pulse. So what we are achieving is 4 QAM, DCO OFDM and DCO OFDM and GFDM. The complexity, number of subcarriers are 250 and number of subsymbols are 5, whereas OFDM only 1 subsymbol. Okay. So the filter is RRC filter is used, Dirichlet, and in OFDM is a rectangular filter is used. So when you go for Dirichlet, we have to consider the roll-off factor. It is 0.1, and spectral estimation method is P-Welch method is used for this. So if you look at the simulation, these are the real result. That means we have constructed a test bed for communication of the entire process of the visible light communication. Real-time construction is done, and we have considered the real-time construction. We have taken the outputs from the test bed. If you look at the models of the GFDM non-line of sight and OFDM line of sight. So the OFDM non-line of sight, we are getting a green curve. Okay. Now, for the blue curve, it is a GFDM line of sight. GFDM line of sight, and so the rest are going on. So what is this one? That means is the bit error rate of your GFDM is slightly higher than the bit error rate of a OFDM, but we are gaining the spectral efficiency. That is our understanding. So we are your limits are within the spectrum. There is no leakage in the one band to the other band. Similarly, if you see for different variants of alpha, 0.2, 0.5, 0.9, the bit error rate we are achieving at a higher SNR compared to 0.2. So this is the result we have obtained. And BR comparison for various roll-off factors for QAM ordering and all, and some of the simulation with the PAPR. Coming to the PAPR of OFDM and PAPR of GFDM. PAPR of the GFDM much better than PAPR of OFDM, because at lower PAPR dB we are getting higher efficiency. Okay, and simulation results under LED nonlinear models. Nonlinear model in the sense because it takes piecewise linear characteristics, where exactly what amount of a bias if I can add, I am getting the better result. So that is also considered, and we have gone through this result. Mainly the spectral efficiency. Look at the spectral efficiency of this system. So the green one is DCO OFDM. The blue one is DCO GFDM with the Dirichlet pulse. The pink one is DCO GFDM with RRC pulse. Okay. The spectral efficiency in the band out of coverage. If you look at the OFDM, there is a deep cuts in my area, out of my area as well, right? But whereas for the GFDM, the variations in the out of band are minimal. And also it is going to the power spectral density at a lower level, at lower dB values. So that is the advantage of GFDM system, but it is more complex system. And the next one is so not only the complex analysis, we did with some real analysis that is called pulse amplitude modulation discrete multitone systems. So pulse amplitude modulation discrete multitone systems, what we have done, we have taken a pulse modulator and multiplied with the -1, and we have imposed a Hermitian symmetry and some setting of the electric power and some amount of IFFT, because it is a multi-carrier communication, so we have to use the IFFT, and naturally we have to go through your clipping and we have to add the bias. Okay. So here the signal concepts are slightly different because it is a PAM. Earlier it is a QAM, now it is a PAM DMT. So for the PAM, what is the modeling is used is given in this one. X S of m e power j 2 pi km by capital N, Bm sin 2 pi km by capital N, right? So what is the advantage of this system? And also what is the clipping noise available in this system is also studied. There's a lot of mathematics is available. So some of the simulation results. So this clipping noise, according to variations in the normalized clipping levels, is observed in this PAM DMT modulation. I will show you the physical test bed how we have implemented for the PAM DMT. Okay. So now look at the experimental test bed. How it looks like. If you see the experimental result, so from the data source, and we have to design the DCO GFDM modulator. So everything is done in the software to some extent. Then it is given to the hardware. Okay. So what we have done in the software and what we have done in the hardware, we can clearly see in this graph, see in this figure. So if you screening up, okay, just look at, we have taken a data source. This is generated in LabVIEW, and we have generated a DCO GFDM modulator, is also constructed in the LabVIEW. That is software, right? And we have added some preambles. Then we did some upsampling and a pulse shaping. Okay. So after pulse shaping, it is given to ESRP transmitter, that is X300. Then what I said, the ESRP output is in complex, right? So, but before that, in the GFDM modulator, we have introduced Hermitian symmetry itself. So the output of your ESRP is a real signal, but we need to have always a positive signal. So we have added a DC bias, the DC bias T. This is a DC source. From the DC source, we have taken RF signal and the DC signal. There is a bias T. The bias T means it adds two input signals and give a one output signal, right? So it adds two input and takes one output. So that means RF plus DC is coming out. Then after that, we have designed LED driver circuit because our transmitter is LED. So we have designed an LED driver circuit. Then after the driver, it is attached with an LED. So the signal goes out of the LED, that is the modulated light, and falls on this photodiode. Power adapt. This is a photodiode. Okay, so it collects light. So after collection of the light, that output is taken and given to ESRP RX. This is a receiver. ESRP RX receiver. So the receiver output is again for decoding of your signals. Everything is done in software. So we have hardware components. We have software over here, right? So for detection scheme and generating of your data modulation, we use the software. After generating the data modulation, we have given to the hardware. Then from the hardware, we have taken and given to the matched filter, synchronization and the channel estimation. And we have removed the preamble and also DCO GFDM demodulator and given it to the dataset. Okay. So this is a typical experimental illustration procedure used for DCO GFDM. So in this DCO GFDM, these are the parameters we have set, and what are the results we are obtained for 4 QAM of cyclic prefix DCO GFDM in different cases, like different filters are used, SRCC, Richlet, DCO OFDM, how it looks like. We can see the comparison parameters. So these are all real-time results. That is CP DCO GFDM. The received constellations for 4 QAM in different cases of DCO GFDM at SNR of 20 dB. Okay. So first one is the in-phase component at alpha equal to 0.1. The second one is alpha equal to 0.9. And the third model is different. And the second one is, the second graph is 16 QAM DCO GFDM. The received signal constellation diagrams. And you can see the spectral efficiency, the received spectrum and the transmitted spectrum. The received spectrum is in blue and the transmitted spectrum is in pink. For the 3 different cases, OFDM case, GFDM case, and DCO GFDM case with SRCC at 0.1, alpha equal to 0.1 pulse shaping filter. Okay. So the normal DCO OFDM, if you look at the transmitted spectrum and the received spectrum, they are at minus 40 dB. Okay. But when it's come to the GFDM, you can see they are maybe the transmitted spectrum is going to 35 and received spectrum is going to 30 dB, minus 30 dB. And with the other SRCC filter, even it is better, right? So that means the spectral efficiency we are obtaining over OFDM. That is the main advantage of GFDM, but it is more complex system. So this one is the magnitude spectrum for 3 different cases of DCO OFDM, cyclic prefix DCO GFDM, LP prefix DCO OFDM signals. This is even more complex. So this is a tunable energy signal for VLC systems. So what we are doing in this one, the tunable energy signals, may be more complex than the two previous versions. Uh, After the PAM, we are generating some auxiliary symbol calculation and congregation into F domain OFDM symbol. We have given that OFDM to IFFT. The rest of the portions are same. Then we are generating the auxiliary PAM demodulator. Okay. So I'm not going deep into that, but I am giving a flavor what is the model we have considered here. Suppose you take one symbol. In that symbol, original data, because if you go for OFDM, what you consider, the first symbol is 0, then we keep the original data, then the middle symbol is 0, then we consider Hermitian symmetry data. This is the format for a OFDM symbol we have to consider, okay, to make a complex signal into a real signal to communicate onto the visible light, to communicate onto the LED. So this is a new proposal. What is that new proposal? We are not considering any Hermitian symmetry. We are not considering any zeros in between. That means the first bit is 0, the middle bit is 0. Just what we are doing, we are taking one symbol duration. During that one symbol duration, we are generating original data plus auxiliary data, such that it makes my output is equivalent to real without any Hermitian symmetry. It is a new technique, and it is formulated by us the first time, and we got very good paper in light wave technology of IEEE and also photonics technology letters. The two papers we got from out of this proposal. Okay, so the arrangement of the symbols in frequency domain, that is a traditional Hermitian symmetry format. But whereas in auxiliary PAM, we are generating original data and some auxiliary data, adding together, so that we are getting the output as only real. So to make this original data plus auxiliary data, the big complex scenario we have to consider. So we are mapping your signals in such a way such that the output is becoming only the real part. So totally it's a mathematical concept. Maybe we need a board derivation for each point in this mathematical format. So I'm not going deep into this topic, the receiver models. So we have obtained a better result out of it. You can see the real test bed what we have considered for our visible light communication. If you look at the LabVIEW PC and LabVIEW PC, two PCs are used. These two are placed together because to show it in a picture, but otherwise we have kept them away for at least a 10 meters distance to consider the real communication system. So the LabVIEW PC, a transmitter USRP is used, and a photodiode is because there is no point in a place. We could not find any place to keep our photodiode, so we have taken a stand, some stand. On top of it, we placed a photodiode. So two USRPs, one transmitter USRP, one receiver USRP. There is a regulated power supply because I already told that we need to add some DC bias to the system. So there is a bias T. So it takes RF signal and a DC signal added together, and it is given to the transmission. Okay. Then also we have kept one digital oscilloscope because we want to see the spectrum as well, and the received, the transmitted constellation and the received constellation. So we can see the transmitted constellation are very clearly visible. They are separated in distance in a PAM modulation. Okay, so now I can show you the received constellation. It's very scattered after passing through the channel. So we have decoded this received constellation. Some of the experimental parameters what we have considered for visible light communication. are mentioned over here. Also, you can see the interesting thing, that is the transmitted data packet and the received data packet. So if you look at the transmitted data packet, I assume that I have transmitted 0. If you see the first graph, the received data packet I am receiving after some 1.2, maybe 1.5 milliseconds. This time scale is in milliseconds. I am receiving after 1.3 milliseconds. That means I need to establish a simple synchronization technique. Otherwise, I cannot decode my signal. So my start of the transmitter and the start of the receiver, even at the same instant of time, I am observing some delay in my receiving signal. So how to establish a synchronization algorithm? There's also a very base strength is given to for our synchronization algorithms. The PAM modulation of 4 PAM and the received spectrum. You can see if it is a OFDM and a PAM DMT with auxiliary PAM. That is the second graph. If you look at the second graph, my auxiliary PAM with a C3, I am getting a same VR at a lower SNR. That's the advantage of auxiliary PAM, because the complexity is also reduced, but it has more mathematical foundations. Okay. Then spectrally efficient, we have revised this PAM DMT to some other extent, and we have decoded the signals. Revised PAM DMT is also established. And a very interesting topic is timing synchronization algorithm for optical wireless communication systems. So I said that I am receiving my signal after 1.28 milliseconds, right? If you don't keep a synchronization algorithm between the transmitter and receiver, where exactly how to transmit, decode your signals, then we could not decode anything out of your communication. So the timing synchronization algorithm is very much important. Okay. So what we have done in this timing synchronization algorithm, we have proposed a blind timing estimation algorithm. Just I want to go through the what is that estimation. The rest all are same. The transmit LED driver circuit is designed by us in SPSpice, and also we have constructed that one. The transmitter model is given, and the bias is used the same. So here, what we have done in synchronization, actually, we have taken energy of the system. Like we keep windows, right? In one window, I calculate the energy of the received signal. If it is above my threshold, that means I have transmitted something. If it is below my threshold, that means there is only noise is available. So above my threshold, if it is above my threshold, that means it is a kind of a convolution weighted. So this is the transmitter and the receiver. I know some basic transmitter, the received signal. Okay, I do with convolution with the transmitter model with the known signals. So if this convolution is more, that means there is some communication is available. If convolution is less, there is less communication is available. So we established this kind of a synchronization algorithm for finding out the energy of the systems, and we have obtained the symbol synchronization using that scheme. So this is the received packet after ADC in received USRP, and the PAM address are increased, the constellation for PAM at 20 dB. And also we identified what is a good bias point between 0.5 to 1.5 volts. It is approximately at 1.1 I am getting the good bias point. At that point I am getting better BER performance. So this blind timing synchronization algorithm, so if you look at the received model, y of n is h of I into x of n minus I. Okay. I know what is x of n. My x of n is added with some clipping amount, a DC bias, and my original signal. Okay, my original signal is a PAM model and multiplied by a filter and multiplied by a carrier. And DC bias is known to me, and what is clipping noise. So these signal is obtained by receiving through my channel. So then what we did, the received signal with timing offset at the receiver, we modeled with a delay in the signal with additive white Gaussian noise. This is delayed version. That means y of n minus nc plus v of n. Nc is taken as some integer value, unknown arrival of time of the symbol. Actually, I have to receive y of n, but I am receiving y of n minus c, right? 1 minus some epsilon. So if you can estimate that epsilon, I can set my window to start decoding after my epsilon time. That is important for me. Okay. So we introduced this algorithm. As I said, it is a correlation algorithm. So using a cyclostationarity, what we have done, the received signal is multiplied by the shifted version of the received signal without sending any transmitted information. The received signal and shifted version of the received signal. So we multiply both of them. That is a correlation. So it is a second order stationary, cyclostationary with a periodicity of P. If this one is proved, that means if some energy is there, if there is maximum match is there with my delay, that means there is an energy is starting at that point of time. So that point is taken out. Through the mathematics, that point is taken out and we have estimated the delay in this format. N epsilon is the estimated delay. Okay. So this N estimate is the estimated delay, depends upon the correlation matrix. And we have concluded this work with the received utilization of the proposed algorithm was also implemented in real time. We have tested it. We got very good result, and we have published in IEEE Photonics Technology Letters and one conference. It's a Communication Society conference. It's called MENACOM. So we can see some of the publications came out of this work is one in Journal of Light Wave Technology, one in Open Journal of the Communications, all are IEEE, Open Journal of the Communication Society, and one is Photonics Technology Letters, and one in Photonics Journal and Physical Communication, and rest are in elsewhere journals. Internet AE journal and optics communication and some conference journals. So this is a new version of our research. What is going on is also completed. Now we are seeing more into algorithm sections, how we can estimate your signals and in what way we can do best for this communication. Okay. And I can see some of the charts. So Premchand Jain is saying very good work. Why Wi-Fi not getting popular? So Wi-Fi is not getting popularity. Yes, it is slowly gaining momentum, and soon it will be going to the standards of 6G communication. That's what the people are expecting because of the crunch in your spectrum. There is no. We should see for the other alternative technologies. So because many devices are connected like IoT, machine, man, industries, anything, wearable devices, all are connected, then there is no point of depending on only one reliable network. We have to go for the other network, secondary networks. Surely it will come to a standards. That's what people are expecting. And there are many groups. Japan has formed a group where they are working on the standardization of the Wi-Fi technology into 6G. So with this, I have shown you the typical work what we have done at our laboratory and what is going on at our laboratory, which is useful for your research works. And also maybe you can continue some of the topics to maybe you can expand, you can increase the efficiency, you can show the better performance out of these works. So with this, I'm Now it is time to open for few questions from the audience.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, Mani madam. Good morning. Mask పెట్టుకుంటే మీకు అర్థం కావట్లేదు. హలో Mani ma'am.
1 minute, I am getting it.
Hello ma'am. Hello Mani ma'am.
Mani madam, you are in mute, madam.
Can you hear me?
Yeah ma'am. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Thank you ma'am.
It is
Spending
not
your-
a relevant topic for your workshop, but even then with your request I have presented what is going on at our laboratory, because we are not concentrating much on machine learning. Why I am hesitant to use machine learning algorithms to communication as a physical layer expertise. We need to estimate the delay. It is a more complex process in communication. So maybe after we receive the signals, we use machine learning algorithms. So we are not going into machine learning algorithms. Maybe it gives some areas of thought where the research scholars can spend their time to see some of the problems.
Okay ma'am. So all advanced machine learning and deep learning, they have to apply for all our communications and signal processing.
Yes. But after receiving or
Yes,
before
yes, ma'am.
transmitting, not in between.
Okay ma'am, session అయిపోయిందా? Okay, thank you ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm leaving the session. It's okay? Or any other doubts are there from any of the participants?
Ma'am, just a second, ma'am.
Hmm.
I request the participants, please come out with any relevant questions. Can any anybody say yes or any Thank you, madam. Thank you for your wonderful and informative session. And we have gained a lot of knowledge through your session regarding illustration about comparison of OFDM and GFDM system, TAM, DMT, DCO, GFDM. And I hope attendees can move forward in this area of research. They can choose any topic regarding the area of research. Thank you, madam.
Yeah, thank you so much. One Shilpa, she's asking, please provide us a chance to talk.
Yes. I request organizers, please unmute Shilpa. She want to talk to Shilpa Patil. Shilpa Patil.
Yes, ma'am, they can unmute and they can talk now, ma'am.
Yes, the participants can unmute themselves and they can talk to madam.
Silpa, ma'am, can you?
Yeah, participants, it's a good opportunity to talk to ma'am. Please go forward and ask your questions. You can unmute yourself.
Ma'am, she's asking to elaborate on OFDM.
Okay. So if you see my slides, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is a multi-carrier technique. So using a single carrier, you can transmit at one instant of time one symbol at stake. Using a multi-carrier, because you are using 10 carriers, so 10 symbols at a time you can transmit. There is a difference between a single carrier to the multi-carrier technique. So OFDM is one kind of it, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. So here, as you increase the number of ANDs, that means you can send number of the symbols over the multi-carrier technique. And also another advantage of using the OFDM is we are making a wide channel into a narrow band channels. So your signal is becoming comes under a flat fading, not in a frequency selective fading. That is one of the advantages to go with OFDM. These are all basics which we need to understand from any other standard textbook. So without OFDM, we cannot move forward to GFDM, or we cannot move forward to the higher order modulation schemes. Okay. So I hope answered your question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your nice lecture and a wonderful session. This is a wonderful session, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So can I leave the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much.